Hello, parents and student athletes. I want to take this time to go over some important information for the winter season. Just like I did in the fall, I send out a informational meeting video that you can then watch and go through on your own at your own leisure before the season begins, rather than having everybody come in the hot gym and sweat their butts off for an hour and hear this boring conversation or boring presentation that you have to hear from me. So instead, I just wanted to send this video out and get everybody up to speed on some winter items for the season. Hopefully by now you know who I am. My name is Kyle Sasala. I'm the athletic director here at St. B. This is my third school year now. Brennan Hall is our assistant athletic director. This is going on his second 2.5 years, I believe. Um, and then we have a new addition to the team, Tanner Ross. I guess I wouldn't say new addition, but he was a graduate assistant last year, and now he is a full-time staff as our athletics and transportation coordinator. And then we also have Ashley Hathaway, who is our assistant athletic trainer. And then we have Coach T, or Christina Marino, as our strength and conditioning coach. But this was just some contact information for all you parents who may or may not want to get in contact with us for anything athletic related. We are still in the process of hiring another athletic trainer to replace B. Knight, or Brian Knight, who was our athletic trainer for the past, 20, almost 25 years. Want to wish him nothing but the best, but we are in the process of getting somebody new. And then once that is pushed through, I will communicate that out to everybody and keep them in the loop. But let's just go ahead and jump right into the informational meeting. Again, this will go over everything and anything sports related for the winter season. And again, a lot of you might be fall parents or students. You might be fall student athletes. So a lot of this might be very repetitive, but again, it's just good information to know especially for all you one incoming or one freshman, and two, anybody new that's new to the winter season that didn't maybe play a fall sport. So moving along, really what I want to talk about in this slide is our athletics purpose, our vision, mission, just why we do what we do. The first bullet point is our mission statement for the athletic office. But really that mission basically says we want to use education-based athletics as a platform to transform student lives. So basically using sports, whether it's football, soccer, lacrosse, whatever sport you play in, to use that as a platform to transform these two, your son and your daughter into better people, better young men and young women. Understanding that we are student athlete centered, coach led, and administrator supported. Everything that we do is for these student athletes, for your son and your daughter, and that's why our coaches are coaching. They're here to do what's best for your student athletes or for your son and your daughters. One of the things that I preach is the transformational coaching, again, using education-based athletics as a platform to transform student lives. And that's something you'll hear me say a lot because I'm very passionate about it. And I do believe that sports is a great avenue to develop these student athletes and to transform these student athletes. So we want to obviously develop them. Right now, they might be these young boys and young girls, timid, shy, not very confident. And then hopefully by their senior year and while they're ready to go, or even before then, they have developed into this young man and young women that's well-rounded, an amazing student athlete and student, but also just has these amazing characteristics that they can take on with them, and that maybe that hopefully that they learned through whatever sport that they are part of. Understanding that even though they are not in the classroom, athletics is an extension of the classroom. They're learning teamwork, organization, time management skills, how to deal with adversity, conflict resolution. There's so many different things that maybe you parents and maybe went through when you were a high school student, or even when you participated in some type of a sport. Um, Along with that learning experience, there's obviously going to be some type of adversity. Not everything is going to be handed to your son or your daughter. It's going to have to be worked for. They're going to have to put in the time, the effort, and the energy to get what they want to get. They can't just show up on day one and expect to start or expect to play. They need to really put in the at that time. and there might be some bumpy roads through that process, but at the end of that process, they're going to learn so much that they can take on with them at the next stage of their life, whether that might be playing in college, or even if they're not playing in college, just taking with them whatever they learned from that sport into their job or into the college world. And to this day, too, even I played baseball and basketball in high school, and everything that I learned in those sports, I'm still using today in my day-to-day job as an athletic director. Along with that, there accountability within the transformational coaching. There's obviously going to be an accountability piece. There's going to be rules, there's going to be guidelines, expectations that we set forth for your son and your daughter, and we want them to obviously fall within those lines, and be held accountable for those rules and those guidelines. Again, all this is to help them develop and help them learn and transform them into better people. I want our coaches to obviously have an impact on these student athletes. Most of the time, I hate to say it, your son or your daughter might listen to coach more than maybe mom and dad. Me being a new dad now, I definitely can see how that works, and where my son does not want to listen to me, but he'll listen to somebody else. And I like to make our coaches understand that they are role models, and everything that they say and they do is then picked up by the student athletes that are on their team, and they look up to these coaches, and when they look up to these coaches, they have a huge impact on them. And I just want them obviously to dot their I's and cross their T's and make sure that they're doing what's best for these student athletes. Moving a little bit along, I wanted to throw in there, we are working with a Champions 101, which is a sports performance and leadership development program that basically takes it to the next level. It understands that we care about the wins and losses, but we also care about leadership. We care about sportsmanship. We care about, again, creating well-rounded individuals. And Champions 101 is a great resource to help with parents, student athletes, and coaches to take it to the next stage, take it to the next step, rather than just practicing and playing games. They really get to learn other things, just maybe even outside of just that sport that they coach. Understanding that athletics is a privilege and not a right. It's a privilege to wear the St. B logo on your chest, and it's a privilege to be a part of a team, part of the school, and to be a part of the community. So understand that our student athletes need to understand that it's a privilege to be a part of the team, and they need to represent accordingly when they're on the field, in the pool, on the court, and even off the field and the court, when they're in the community, when they're at the grocery store, when they're at their friend's house. They need to know that they are representing not only themselves, but also when they are wearing that logo on their chest, they're representing their school. Obviously competitive. We want to be competitive. There's a lot of banners that have been hung up in the gym. We want to hang up banners. I'm not lying. I hate to lose. I love to win. But as I get older and older, and understand that we can be competitive and win banners, and also transform these student athletes into better young men, young women, parallel and simultaneously. I believe they go hand in hand. If we're transforming these kids and doing what's best for the student athletes, I believe the wins, they will come. I want this to be a positive and fun experience for your son and your daughter. Obviously, they're only here for 4 years, and we want them to go through the programs. Obviously, we want them to be in multi-sport. Go through the programs and leave with a great taste in their mouth, and want them to be to look back and say, hey, Coach Sasala had just a great impact on me, and I had so much fun, and I just had a positive, fun experience throughout my years, while obviously being competitive and winning and things like that. But we want you to go on and graduate, and then obviously come back and still be a part of the program, and have a good taste in your mouth when you leave St. B. And that the last thing we want is our student athletes to at the end of the day, they want to have fun. And I think that, sometimes we lose track of the why we play sports and why we're a part of sports is really to have fun. Last but not least, the academics. Your son or daughters are student athletes, not athlete students. So obviously, They need to be you need to get their stuff done in the classroom when it comes to academics. Because if they don't, then they obviously wouldn't play for St. B. So obviously putting a huge emphasis on academics, and understanding that they are student athletes, students first. Moving along, we'll get in a little bit more of the nitty gritty and to-dos and things like that. The OHSAA, or the Ohio High School Athletic Association, that is the organization that we are a part of. They are the governing body for the state of Ohio. Most teams and schools are in this organization. There's some good information, preseason information for you to look through if you feel like it. But just wanted to mention the OHSAA part of this PowerPoint. Moving along, I want to talk a little bit about expectations. First, we'll start off with the parent expectations, then we'll move into the student athlete expectations. I've already given our coaches their expectations, so they are very well aware of what my expectations are. It's very similar to what our mission and vision and purpose is in the first slide, or sorry, the second slide. But number one is sportsmanship. I am a huge, proponent on positive, good sportsmanship, not only for our student athletes or your son or your daughters, but also for our fans, our spectators, and our parents that are in the stands, who are MFing people and yelling at officials and yelling at other teams and just making themselves look like a fool. I really want to refrain from negative comments before, during, and after the event. Obviously, I wanted you to show respect to our officials, our visiting fans, our teams, other spectators. I want this to be a great working environment for our home team, our kids, but also the visiting team. I want them to leave the St. B and say, well, hey, that athletic office and that school St. B, they're great because we had such a great time at the game. And they were super respectful, and their fans were great, and they showed us respect through and through, and that's what I want. I'm not big on yelling and screaming and this and that. We have to understand that these are 14 to 18-year-old kids that we are dealing with. They're not in college, they're not in the NFL, they're not in the MLB. So we need to understand that we're dealing with student athletes here that are minors. There are a few, parents fair play code, and we just say respect the game, or just two great links to view from the OHSAA, just basically talking about respecting the game, sportsmanship, how to be a good parent during the game, before the game, after the game, whatever it may be. One of the things I like to mention too is this funny fan. It's a YouTube video. It's just basically shows how some spectators, fans, parents, people in the stands, how they act, and how idiotic sometimes they can be. Just understand it's supposed to be funny, but it also really is really a learning experience for some of you parents, and just people in general, of how you may or may not look in the stands when your son or daughter is playing. Any unsportsmanlike behavior, I'm going to read this word for word. Any unsportsmanlike behavior will not be tolerated and will result in consequences. If I have to ask you multiple times to be quiet, to show respect, to stop swearing, to stop whatever it may be, I will then ask you to leave the event, and there may be additional consequences beyond that. I don't like to do this, but I will do this. It does not bother me to kick people out of games for acting like a fool and not having good sportsmanship. I have no problem kicking you out and having it be an even further consequence later on with suspension and whatever it may be. So I really hope it doesn't get to that point, and hopefully we can respect each other and not have it get to that point. But just wanted to throw that out there. I want you to have fun and be positive for your son or daughter and team, understanding that these are kids. Let them be kids. Let them have fun. Cheer for your team. Don't cheer or don't yell and scream at someone else's daughter or son and tell them they suck, or tell them, that was a bad shot, whatever. Like, just have fun and be positive and cheer for the team. Understand that coaches want to do what's best for your son or daughter. They want to do what's best for the team. Obviously, they're not there to tear your kid down. They're not there to be out for your son or your daughter. They want to do what's best for the team and the student athletes, because that is what matters the most. Understand that athletics, this is something I talked to my first vision or mission vision purpose statement slide. Athletics is an extension of the classroom. This is intended to be a learning experience for your son or daughter, and they will go through adversity. There's going to be tough times. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs when being on a team. But I think that's what is about. That's what's amazing about being a part of a team is being able to go through adversity and power through that and drive through that and come out on top. Parents, get involved. I want you to obviously get involved in the program, get involved in the school, just get involved in your son and daughter's sports teams, whatever it may be. Obviously, Rome was not built in a day. We need your help and support, and it's going to take some time to get that Rome built. And we obviously we cannot do it without the help and support of you. Respect the chain of communication process. That's a big one. Obviously, allowing 24 hours before any communication to coach after practice or a game. At that time, obviously you might be a little bit heated. You might be pissed off for whatever reason. And obviously, we want there to be a communication process in place. And that communication process is right here at the bottom. Is we want your son, your daughter to then talk to coach. If they have a problem with something, have them use their words, gain the confidence to go talk with coach. If that can then not be resolved, then obviously the student athlete, the parent, and the coach would then come together, and hopefully whatever issues you are dealing with or questions you may have would then get resolved. If that's not resolved, then the last step would obviously be for myself to get involved with the student athlete, the parent, and the coach, and potentially maybe even looping in our president or principal. But I really don't like for it to get to that stage. But obviously respecting the communication process and understanding that this is a learning experience for your son, your daughter, these kids. And we want them to take some things in their own hands. Moving along, we talked a little bit about the communication process. Obviously, when it comes to communication, we want open, honest, transparent, and in real-time communication. 99% of our problems obviously stem from lack of communication, miscommunication, or no communication at all. And like we talked about when it comes to about playing time, obviously we want that to be between player and coach. But obviously, if that's not resolved, then obviously you can take it to the coach, as in the parents, players, and coach. Again, we want this to be a learning experience for these student athletes. And the last bullet point is a parent video. It's a good video, just explaining a college coach talking about playing time and talking about parents that I like to show. So that's a really good resource for all you parents. Student athlete expectations, very similar to the parents, but a little bit different. Sportsmanship. We talked about sportsmanship when it came to the parents, with sportsmanship when it comes to the athletes. We want, good sportsmanship on and off the field, being respectful to all individuals. That's the visiting team, the visiting coaches, our coaches, your own teammates, your athletic directors, your coach, your strength coach, your athletic trainers, whoever it may be, being respectful to all individuals. Communication with coaches and teammates. Obviously, communication is key. 99% of our problems, I believe, stem from lack of communication. So again, communicating with your teammates, your coaches, your athletic director, your parents, gaining that confidence to talk with different individuals. Obviously, you need to follow the student handbook. Have fun. That's the big one. Understanding that, sports are supposed to be fun. Obviously, winning is we want to win. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, we want to win and have fun at the same time. Understand that adversity is going to happen, student athletes. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be fun. It's going to be hard, and everything is going to be given to you on a gold platter. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be pitfalls, but at the end of the day, it's how you respond to adversity, how you overcome it. Academic eligibility. Obviously, you are a student athlete. You're a student first, athlete second, as the athletic, and that's coming from the athletic director. Obviously, we want you to be an athlete, but we need you to be a student first and get your academics put in place first, so you can then be an athlete. Obviously, we will need to follow rules and guidelines that are set from your coaches, from your teachers, from the administration, from everybody at the school. Representing sorry, accountability of actions that goes along with following rules and guidelines. Obviously, we're going to hold you accountable for all your actions, positively and negatively. And that, it goes into the next bullet point about representing the school in a positive manner. We want you to obviously be a good teammate and a good role model on the field, but also off the field too. You'll hear me talk a lot about on the field and off the field. I'm a big proponent on how you conduct yourselves off the field as much as you do on the field. Last but not least, zero tolerance for drugs, alcohol, stealing, and hazing. Pretty self-explanatory. Don't do it. Just wanted to drop the head coach directory for the winter. If you have any questions about whatever sport it may be, please reach out to those individuals, whether it may be for open gyms or open bowls or when team meals are, or when parent meetings are, whatever it may be. Reach out to those coaches. And if you're not on Final Forms already, make sure you are, because they do send a lot of information through Final Forms. So make sure you're on there. Kind of jumping into some Final Forms and also eligibility pieces. Hopefully by now, you know what Final Forms is. Every single student athlete is required to have a Final Forms account. If you do not know what Final Forms is, you are living under a rock. No, I'm just kidding. See the Final Forms information right there to sign yourself up and obviously add your son or your daughter. Before they can play in any single sport, every student athlete needs to be green, which means they are registered. That means they have a Final Forms account. They have a valid physical on file in the athletic office, and both the parent and the student athlete forms are signed. One of the nice things too is physicals are valid now for 13 months, and those can be uploaded to Final Forms. There's a little file button in the right-hand corner that allows you to upload your physical on there, which is nice. We talked about obviously forms being signed before any participation in athletics. That includes physicals too. Physicals are the biggest thing, just for liability purposes. We talked about Champions 101 in the first slide, but I wanted to talk a little bit about it again. Obviously, it's a good resource for sports performance and leadership development program, again, for coaches, for players, and for the parents. Just again, another great resource. When it comes to eligibility, let's move a little bit into more eligibility. Student athletes must be at school for 2 full academic blocks to be eligible for practices or games that day. So that means 2 academic blocks. That doesn't mean a lunch in a study hall or a lunch in whatever it may be, not recess, but whatever it may be. But so it has to be an English and a religion, an English and a math and social studies, whatever it may be. 2 full academic blocks to be eligible for games or practices that day. Anything that is any excused absences must be ran through the front office or the attendance office, and then they will then let me know anybody that has an excused absence. Sticking with the theme of eligibility, they obviously must be enrolled in passing 5 1-credit classes. Please know that those are the big core classes: the Englishes, the maths, the science, the language arts, whatever it may be. They must be passing 5 1-credit classes. So each one of those classes is 1 credit. PE or physical education does not count as a full credit. It's only a half credit. So keep that in mind when you are scheduling your classes with your counselor. Getting along more into the GPA eligibility, all students participating in extracurricular activities, including athletics, will be required to maintain a 2.0 GPA for each grading period. So what I mean by that is anybody who falls below the 2.0 GPA requirement, if they fall between that 1.5 to 1.99, they will be placed on academic probation. Obviously, so during this probation, the student athletes still remain eligible, but they must get in contact with the Dean of Academics, Mrs. Busey, who will then set them up with study tables and extra remediation sessions to help get their GPA back up above that 2.0 GPA. Now, any students who fall below that 1.5 GPA are ineligible for extracurricular activities and are not allowed to attend any practices or games. If they are OHSAA eligible, but they fall below that 1.5, so basically if you are passing 5 1-credit classes, but you fall below that 1.50 GPA, you will then be ineligible for the rest of the up until the interim of that grading period. And then once the grading period is then checked at that interim, and if you are above that 1.5 GPA, you would then be eligible to then participate in athletics from the interim to the end of the quarter. But then you would still have to obviously attend those remediation sessions, study tables, whatever it may be, with Mrs. Busey. Obviously, we want you to be above that 2.0, then you wouldn't have to do any of this, and you would be in the clear. But once you get above that 1.5 at the grade check for the interim, then you would be then considered eligible for the rest of that quarter. Now, understand if you are OHSAA ineligible, so let's say you become ineligible the first quarter. After this first quarter grades come out, you're at a 1 point whatever, and you're only passing 4 1 credit classes. You would then be ineligible for the rest of that second quarter, the following quarter. And then obviously you would only be eligible if you were to become above that 1.5 GPA, but also passing the OHSAA requirement of 5 1 credit classes. I know this can be kind of confusing at times, but if you have any additional questions about this, please let me know. One thing I will note too, I know it's not the fourth quarter yet, but anybody that is deemed ineligible fourth quarter, it would then carry over into the following year for any freshmen through juniors for the following first quarter. So keep that in mind when you're screwing off or doing whatever you should be doing in the spring. It would then affect you if you play a fall sport the following year. Moving along, transportation. I just want to make sure you all know transportation is a pain in the butt. Please be patient with the athletic officers. We try to work through these issues. We obviously want to try and get trips for every away match. We do our best to do that, but please know that self-transportation may have to be used if our bus drivers or the third-party companies that we use are not available. That happens all the time. So just be open and be flexible and bear with us as we work through these issues. I want to talk a little bit about the website and some social media. Obviously, we have our athletics website. It's got everything and anything you need for athletics, rosters, schedules. This video more than likely will be up on there. Hall of Fame, Booster Club, everything you can think of athletics is on that website. So feel free to check it out, especially for you winter season student athletes. The schedules are on those websites or on that website. We obviously are on the Twitters, the Instagram, the Facebooks. Please make sure you follow all of our different social media platforms. We do a great job of Brendan and Tanner, our 2 assistant athletic directors, do a great job of posting on there and making the school and the athletic office look great. So feel free to follow us on all those accounts, as well as make sure you follow your sports-specific Twitter and Instagram accounts, as well as some Facebook accounts too as well. Last but not least, YouTube. We do have our YouTube account, which is STV and Broadcasting, where we will then live stream all of our home games in the gym and also on the field. So check that out as well. Ticketing, hometown ticketing, we're going to use them again as well. That is the online ticketing platform, obviously. The updated spectator policy is here. Tickets and season passes are offered as well. Those will be up before the season begins, before the games start. Obviously, we encourage all tickets to be purchased online. This will then hopefully ensure your seat. But if you come up with cash, we may, for a big game, for a boys or a girls game, might be sold out. And so purchase your tickets ahead of time online. Understand athletic passes are not accepted for any OHSAA sanctioned games. So those are any home playoff games that we host here for athletics. Ticket purchasing for away games will vary school by school. Every school does it differently. That will then be communicated to the family and student athletes once we receive it from that visiting school. Some important dates, picture day. We're working on our picture day right now. Tanner, Mr. Ross is working on that, and we'll have that communicated out here in the next couple of weeks. Some teams are going to be having some early team parent meetings to go over the season to go along with this video. They will then go over their rules, their expectations, their guidelines for the season. Coaches will start sending that information out if they haven't already here pretty soon. Last but not least, they would just say season calendar of important dates. I like to share that. That's a good resource just to see. It gives you a snapshot of different dates and when each sport is starting the season, when they can practice, when they can, when sectionals are, districts, regionals, whatever it may be. So just thought I'd mention that too as well. Other than that, again, I appreciate you all taking the time to listen and watch this video. Instead of making you all, again, come into the gym and sit through a nice 45 to hour meeting with me and be bored out of your minds, you could then watch this video at your own time. But hopefully this video was helpful and oversees or goes over everything for athletics for the winter. Other than that, looking forward to the season. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.